because I dumped my drink out there.
And would you turn that over to the freezer, please?
It said on 61 on the way, be cold.
Good afternoon, everybody. Oh, come on, you can do better than that. Good afternoon. All right. It's a little warm out there. I'm glad everybody was able to get in here and get in the cool air, recover a little bit. Hope everybody got enough to eat. And I do believe there's probably more out there if you do get hungry. Before we begin, we got a couple of things we need to take care of. One thing you'll notice, the agenda. The agenda is in the book, page 2. This agenda, a little bit of a controversy as to who drafts the agenda. This particular agenda is not one that I drafted. Of course, it's very similar. But what I need from this general council is an approval of this agenda, or do you want to make any changes? I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda then. The agenda, page 2, General Council agenda, opening prayer, EC report, financial report, Lenape Entertainment report, and DNEDA report. Yes? Public comments will that is part of it, no doubt. Anything else? Any additions, changes? May I get a motion to approve the agenda? Second? Motion made and second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. This is our agenda for today. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call this meeting to order at 1:07. Secretary Stone, got that? Everybody in good shape? All right. Take note that we are streaming this live. We have a lot of people online watching, and just a few house cleaning issues to take care of. The restrooms are located right back here in the very back. I'm going to ask a couple of things that we behave civilly. If we have questions, we need to raise our hand. Just don't blurt out. We do need to be careful of the chatter, and I ask that you please put your phones on vibrate. And if you do need to take a phone call, please step into the back there or go outside, please. Can't have the disruptions. And with that, I'm going to ask, before we begin, before we have the prayer, I'm going to ask that we just have a moment of silence for those Delaware people, our Delaware people that we have gone on their walk, and we've lost a couple of national treasures this year. As we all grow older and get on that journey, we're all going to be crossing that path at some point, and the people that have left us they're all very important, and we lost some former leaders this past year, and I just ask that you please give a moment of silence in their respect. Thank you, Wanishi. With that, I'd like to ask you to all please bow your heads. Join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we are all gathered here today as the Delaware nation, as the Delaware people. We ask that you look after us, guide us, help us to come together as one. We ask that you bless everyone with your hand, with your touch. Help those that are in need, those that are sick, those that are ailing, those that can't be with us today. Please look after our troops, our first responders, and anyone else who takes care of us on a daily basis. We ask that you help guide this meeting that we conduct today with compassion, with respect. We ask that you help see us home safely. We ask of these things in your name. Amen. We had an event just a couple of months ago. Our princess, the 2016-2017 princess, Soraya Pemberton, handed over the crown to our new princess, the 2017-2018 princess, and it is an honor to introduce your 2017-2018 princess, Miss Angel Yepaw.
Hello. I'm the daughter of Billy Canute. I'm the granddaughter of Selma Toho Moreau and the great-granddaughter of Christine Shemami Toho Moreau. I'm very honored to be able to be the 7th person in my family to be a Delaware Nation princess. And I'm very honored to be able to represent my tribe. I wish everyone a safe travel back home. And Wanishi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
The princesses, they do a really great job. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to see the movies, but I certainly encourage you to see the movies. You were in the movie, as well as former Princess Soraya Pemberton, and they represented us very well everywhere they go. They do a tremendous job. As a matter of fact, I would rather send them than I go on a lot of these things because they do such a good job, and it's such a good thing that they do. It's great to see our youth stepping into those roles. All right, let's begin with the EC report. One of the things that we as the... Yes, ma'am. I'm kind of questioning. Can you hear me back there? Am I yelling in the mic? That's what I feel like I'm doing. Anything we can do here, gentlemen? Are we good? Is that better? A little better? All right, they're working on it. Obviously, there's a lot of duties with the governing body of this nation. We do a lot of things, and one of the things that is pertinent, very pertinent, it's something that I often reflect on anything that I do, is what is the mission? What is the goal? If you look in the Constitution, it explains what our purpose is. What is the purpose of this organization? And the purpose of this organization, it says, is to look after the health and welfare of our citizens, and we do that through programs. And that's what it says, programs. Programs are obviously very important to this nation. They're important to our citizens. They're important to the governing body to make sure they're administered correctly and effectively. And we typically don't have enough of them. Hey, it's getting better. The programs that we have in place, some are federally funded, and some are Delaware Nation funded. Of course, we don't have that much money to be funding a whole lot of programs, but that's going to change sometime in the future. We're going to be flush with money. We're going to be flush with programs. Presently, though, this is very important. It's important for every one of us, whether you're a citizen, whether you're an administrator, or whether you're in the governing body, that we understand how to administer our programs. And I say that because I'm not sure that we do it as well as we could. We can always be improving. And this is an area that we must be always improving on because it's the purpose of this nation. I see things often that kind of make me think that, hey, we need to examine that a little further and make sure that that isn't negatively impacting our programs. And I don't just do it. The executive committee, everybody on the executive committee, we see things that we need to constantly be on the outlook to make sure that our programs are not negatively impacted. And I think it's important at some point that we all understand how these programs are administered, the eligibility requirements that are necessary, that are in place to make sure that these programs are provided to the people who need them the most, who meet the eligibility requirements. Because if we don't, those programs are in jeopardy. They're going to fail, and the people who need those programs are not going to be able to get the assistance that they need. So one of the goals in the coming years, I say coming years, I want to say more immediate than that, is to visit these programs, make sure that these programs are working for you, the citizens, and that we're administering them as well as they can be administered. And I'm going to ask for your input. Anything you see in a program that we could be doing better, I want to know. The executive committee wants to know. We should know. We should be communicating these things because that's our purpose. It's what we're here for. And I need to know, are we doing a good job? And it's a pretty bold statement to ask you, are we doing a good job? Could we be doing better? And if we can, tell me how. The programs, and the reason that I'm stressing on these programs is our future is very bright. We're going to hear some reports. We're going to see that our revenue streams are going to be improving. There's going to be new revenue streams coming in, and these revenue streams are going to provide the funding for new programs. And if we're not ready, if we're not administering the programs that we have now as well as we could be, I'm concerned about initiating new programs. And what will those new programs be? And that's a conversation that we all need to be having. Because that's our purpose. That's the purpose. That's the reason we're here. That's the reason I'm standing here today. To meet that purpose. So I'm going to ask everyone, and probably be putting this into a letter form. The executive committee will be addressing this as well. How can we improve this? Keep that in mind, please. Some of the things you're going to hear today from our economic development as well as our gaming. There's improvement on the horizon in both of those areas. Gaming, of course, is it's always a roller coaster ride. Economics, there's a lot of things that impact our gaming, our markets, the saturation. We have casinos opening around us all the time, and then some of them closing again. So it's a constant roller coaster ride. And I know that gaming is doing the best that they can to get the lion's share of that market and maintain that market. You're also going to hear from our economic development, D&I, Delaware Nation Industries. Their contracts, their government contracting and what they're doing and their successes that they're having. They are on track to outperform their own perceptions, their own goals. They are constantly moving forward and moving forward fast. And it's going to be not too long that we're going to be finding ourselves in a situation where what programs are we going to build with this money? What are we going to do with this money? And we don't want to wait till it comes before we start making that decision. It's imperative that we start doing that now. We start planning today for tomorrow. Yes, sir. Certainly, I'll try, and I would also put that on the D&I because they're the ones that are looking at the projections. They're the ones that are analyzing this and seeing this, and it's been mentioned a number of times. 2019, 2020, 2021. Really, we've zeroed in on 2020 as being a realistic time period that we can see these profits. It could be sooner, but let's don't get our hopes up. Let's plan on 2020, and if it happens sooner, let's be prepared when we get there. Let's don't wait till the last minute to start talking about this, waiting we're waiting for these profits to come in. Meanwhile, we can be planning, and that certainly makes sense to be doing that now. So there's a lot of hope on the horizon. Certainly, the executive committee works very hard, try to think outside the box, try to address the things that we have presently, and plan for our future. And that's where we require your assistance. I don't know how that will take place. Some general council meetings, some community outreach programs, online, but there's got to be a number of ways to be communicating, sharing information with one another, planning. In the last year, we've enacted an ethics code that applies to the executive committee, the governing body, as well as those that are appointed. I don't know that that's been broadcast publicly, but I would suggest that you get a copy of it. I would suggest that we put a copy of it online so that you all have access to it. We've revised and gotten approved a new gaming ordinance that streamlines our gaming commission. The gaming commission, since its inception, was built to meet a different situation at the time. It was managed by a third party. That ordinance remained in place up until just recently. And it was a very difficult ordinance to work, to use. It simply didn't apply in some cases. It was a mess. We did make some changes in 2011, but we certainly didn't go far enough. We still had a 7-person commission, which for 2 casinos it's just crazy. Most gaming operations only have 1, 2, or 3 commissioners, just depending on what their needs are. What we have done is we have streamlined the gaming commission down to 1 commissioner, 1 full-time commissioner, not 7 people getting together once a week. Even the gaming commissioners, who did a great job, and I certainly applaud them for trying to apply a very ambiguous ordinance and make it work, and they did. They did an exceptional job with what they had to work with. And I think that they would even agree. I know they agree that we needed to streamline, we needed to revise, revamp our gaming commission because it was becoming an onerous, burdensome mess that we're always scratching our head trying to figure out. So we've revised that. We went from approximately about 50-page ordinance down to a 25-page ordinance. Very streamlined. Took out all of the stuff that was unnecessary, repetitive in our ordinance. Took a lot of work. And then we had to send it to the NIGC for approval. And we were fortunate that it was approved in the first try. That speaks to the quality of work. We've also, as I mentioned earlier, we've made 2 award-winning documentaries. They've done an exceptional job. And those are very important. They're important to us as citizens. We were able to witness and see what our youth went to our homelands and participated and did. And it's great. I've watched this movie. I've watched one particular movie about 6 times now. Matter of fact, I was over watching it this morning as I'm writing down some notes as to what I'm going to say today, simply for inspiration. These young people are an inspiration, and we need to be providing them with the resources that they can go out into the world and make a difference. And I think that's what we're going to be able to do it's going to be coming down the line. We're going to be able to provide them with the resources, the programs, a youth council. I've been screaming youth council for a while now. I want to see a youth council. Since the DAPL situation, which was started by a youth council, it's inspired me. These young people are taking control of their futures, and we need to be assisting them any way that we can. The youth are our future. And it's good to see so many youth in here today. It's very interesting to see so many young people. Great to see. We've also done a number of infrastructure and capital improvements, even improved our curb appeal. I don't know if you noticed, but there's new landscaping, new flagpoles. Even the interior of the buildings have been enhanced, some new tile, some things that get worn and dated and do not give that professional appearance, things that can actually even be a safety hazard. But even in the process, we were able to gain more office space. We need office space. We are busting at the seams. We have employees sitting on top of employees. It's absurd what we're having to deal with simply because we lack the space. But we've been able to improve that. And it's a good thing. Like I said, and in closing, the next few years are going to be transformative. We're going to be seeing some new revenue streams. Hopefully we're all discussing what programs and what needs we need to be meeting that best serve our nation, best serve our people. It's going to be transformative. It's going to be some interesting times coming. And it's only because we have some resources that we've never had before, never realized. And I'm excited, but also concerned, because this is something that we've never experienced before, and we want to get it right the first time. Some good things. And I'm glad to see so many people here today. I hope you all enjoyed the gathering outside. Good to see everybody here. And let's have a good meeting. I'm going to turn it over to the next on the agenda is the financial report. Mr. Kyle Dover. Whichever one you'd like. You need something to set your stuff down on? Yeah, you got a presentation, that's correct. The gentleman in the office there. Presentation up and running? Oh, there's your pointer.
There we go. Good afternoon. My name's Kyle Dover. I'm the comptroller for Delaware Nation. A little bit about myself. I'm outsourced here. I come in 1 to 2 days a week, kind of overseer, help with the budgets, help with really the audit performance for Delaware Nation. Janelle Architaw is the assistant comptroller. She's the day-to-day. She's got a staff of 5 others. So there's 6 in the finance office total, including me. I make the 7th that comes in, looks over everything that we're doing. So this is we've already got our September 30th, 2016 audit report. We got an unmodified or a clean opinion again. So that's gone on since we've been here and since I've known. So a good audit report that came through. We're going to go through some of those numbers, some of those financial numbers for you guys. Anytime you guys have questions or comments, please. So we'll start with the revenues. We'll go through this. The total of the revenues, $7.9 million. Obviously, we're down about 11% on our revenues that we were last year. If you guys turn to page 7, if you guys have that book, the annual report, that'll have more detail in it. It gives at least a 3-year look back. So you can kind of look and compare. I don't have those comparisons on these slides, but if you want to look through your book as we go through it, you can kind of see. But from last year to this year, we're down 11%. Gaming distributions, as you'll see, that's the biggest, one of the biggest portions of our revenue that we get. That's down 37%. So to only be down 11% overall, you'll see that we've had strides in other areas to be able to make up for some of those downfalls. Federal grants is one of those areas that came up. That's 1.6 million this year. You'll see there's some reasons more grants are coming in, along with we've gotten a better IDC rate. We've gone from 10 to 11% IDC rate. That's our indirect cost rate, and that's gone up to now 27%. So what that happens is our federal programs are now paying into the tribe 27% of their expenditures, and that is also now getting refunded back to us through the federal programs. So essentially they're helping to pay for some of our overall indirect costs. So very good thing. Taxes, gaming, sales, and fuel, $750,000. Again, that's down a little bit from this time last year. Program income, this is the Section 106, or our cell tower income. This is about a 22% decline from this point last year. Licenses and fees, $540,000. A pretty good incline here, about 80% growth in this area, so that's good. Indirect cost recovery, again, this was 220% growth in this area. So federal programs are again paying into the tribal government, and then now they're getting reimbursed by the federal programs in that amount. So very good thing. Lastly, for revenue other, so space costs, again, everyone gets charged a certain percentage based on the amount of space that they take. They pay that into the general fund. Green Tech lease, we're getting close to $25,000 a month related to that lease in net revenue that's going into our economic development to help pay down for the loan that we took out with Capital One. So we've gotten that loan down to close to $300,000, and we were well over $1 million before we started. So we're getting that paid down. We'll look at the expenditures. Total expenditures, $7.9 million. Again, revenues went down, and our expenditures went down too, kind of in fold. 10% decline in our expenditures. Sure.
Back up here, the tax rate
Motor fuel tax. That's it's all paid to the tax commission for any motor fuel that we get for our vehicles, for what we're paying into. From the state. The state pays us. They get motor fuel paid into them, and they disperse that back to us, to other companies, yeah.
Also, the amount that I think the executive committee had gotten from the gaming commission is like 700,000. I don't see it on there. Where did it come in?
The money that
The gaming commission had like over, I think it was roughly $700,000 in the executive committee.
In revenues, you're saying?
Excuse me?
In revenues?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that falls under your taxes, gaming taxes. Had to be in some of that.
Commission, it had nothing to do with it.
Is this the money that's paid from the for the casinos?
No. This is money that the gaming commission.
Licensing and fees.
You're talking about, Bruce, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're talking about casinos won't be revenues because that was still all underneath the governmental umbrella.
Where is it supposed to come in? It has to come in somewhere. It has to show up somewhere.
But it came into the gaming commission as licensing fees. Expense of the casino.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
But see, you had the $700 and some thousand that was in the account of the gaming commission. It wasn't over
said, that was built on years past. I mean, 2 or 3 years back, they've been building that money up.
Okay, but it was gone all at once, so it came to the tribe all at once, the $700-something thousand. They come in through the years. When they took it back, it came in as one lump sum.
Well, Bruce, the gaming commission is part of the tribe.
Right.
And so that money, it went from one hand to the other. It didn't just all come into the tribe at once.
Okay, where's it at? Where's it show up?
It's sitting in cash. I mean, it's sitting in tribal government as a transfer. When it goes from one fund to another, it's not. It doesn't go back through as revenue. We've already shown it as revenue. So what it does is it comes through as a transfer out here and a transfer in here. So it's just moving money from one fund to the other fund, and it's all general fund. So it's an allowable thing to do.
Okay, so it's under general fund.
Yes, which is general. No, you're not going to see it as a line item. Like I said, it's a transfer. The revenues have been, we've had revenues in this year, we've had revenues in this year, we've had revenues in this year. So that money, through what we've been expending, we've had this buildup, and then we move that money from this fund to our fund, so then we can control that money rather than it be controlled here. It's still all under the general fund umbrella. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. How long have you been our comptroller for the tribe? 2 years?
This is my third meeting that I've been here.
Your third meeting or third year?
Third year.
Okay. I have a question through you to Mr. Gonzalez. Bruce Gonzalez, respectfully, one of our former presidents of the tribe, who now sits on the gaming commission.
Mm-hmm.
You are the chairman of that commission, are you not?
No,
No.
the commission was dissolved.
No.
We are no longer gaming commissioners.
Okay. In the beginning, when we first set up the gaming, the gaming funds was originally set aside separate from the tribal operations government of the tribe. My question I would like to know is, Bruce, is the gaming fundings that we get from Gold River or from the Hinton operation, does that not come to the tribe, or are they separate entities? Because when the gaming was first originally wrote up years ago, they were supposed to be kept separate. It was not to come back under the direction or the flow of the tribe.
Now it goes back to the
It
tribe.
goes back to the tribe.
Then we have the budget and they pay
Okay.
us through that budget. So
Okay.
even our meetings.
So then the funds that are received off of Gold River, they are separated, or do they come to?
They go under Lenape Entertainment. Lenape Entertainment is the business of the casinos. It's the organization that manages the casinos. Then the profits are handed down to the tribe for per cap monthly, or per cap payment, or 33%, 32%, 45, 81. Lenape Entertainment sends one check back to the tribe, and then Janelle splits that out and makes resolutions for all the disbursements to the different departments that the RAC is assigned to.
Okay, I just want to clarify, make sure that those funds, through the gaming commission, those people that sit on the board and that oversee this, that they are kept separate from our tribal government budget.
Absolutely. There's a whole separate budget for gaming commission.
All right.
Each fund that we have has its own budget.
They're not put in one pot.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Now, on your financial report,
Yeah.
they are in one pot,
Yeah,
but you see them all in one column. Gaming commission has its own column.
right.
The general government has its own column. IDC, indirect costs, has its own column. So they're still columned. They're still separate. Each one of them has a balancing income statement and balance sheet that we keep. We have to reconcile all that cash together. But they're all completely separate funds that have their own separate budgets that we control. You good? Okay. Per cap distributions, we'll just run through these expenses. $875,000. Obviously, that's going to mimic the 37% decrease that we had in our regular per cap. Economic development, 837,000. Again, this is about a 9% decrease. The good thing here is of that 837, not all of that went to D and EDA. Way less than 50% of that. They're now on a budget. We give them a fixed amount every month, and the remaining piece of that money that we earn out of those funds that we get out of economic development is going to pay down our debt that we have for the Green Tech lease. And then we're also getting additional monies on top of that. Public health, some of these are community services, some of our grant fundings, natural resources. These are all pretty constant. A little bit of decline there in public health that we saw from this point last year, but community services, natural resources, pretty much the same. Same with housing. Again, all of these funds get looked at. They're all separated funds. Each one we carry budgets for, and we follow those budgets to a T. We have to. Each one of these are under government scrutiny. We have to follow compliance guidelines. When we go through our audit, each one of those, most of these have been looked at within probably the last 3 to 5 years. When we get an external financial audit that come in, they test a bunch of these funds, and they look at that for any problems, they're looking for enrollment issues. They're looking for any of that they can find that we're not following those guidelines. So some of those audits help us to be more efficient in our processes as well. Gaming Commission, surveillance, this is combined, 999,000. Education, again, this is 727,000 this year. That's up 44% from this point last year, so we're putting a lot more money in our education. General government, tribal government, tax commission, IDC, whatever, all of those others, IRR, our self-governance, $3.1 million. Again, a 3% decrease from this time last year. So overall, we had expenses in 2015 of 8.8. We're down to 7.9. We're still staying under our revenues, keeping that balanced budget. Any questions with our expenditures? We'll move on to our wrap. Okay.
Last year, the executive committee made a tour to various cities to explain, I don't need that, to explain to tribal members in various areas what the programs were doing and how the money was being distributed out. A question was asked at the Norman meeting that the Delaware per cap, was it going to be the same, because we had heard through rumor that it was not. Well, come November of last year, 2016, it was way less.
You had heard that it was going to be the same?
We heard, they told us. They said it's going to be the same, and it wasn't.
Judith, I will say I've got other clients, and I've got some oil and gas clients that I do some work for, and their revenues from when it was good to that next year were significant. I mean, 50 to 60% declines in their revenues. So right now we're seeing 36. This year it's staying pretty close. We were through March we were actually down 16%. And then right now we've caught that back up to now we're only down 4% to where we were this time May last year. Still down from 14 numbers, but it's going to take a little bit for that discretionary income of everybody's to get back to a certain point to where they're playing as much as they were before. Yes, ma'am.
I wonder how come they got more employees than they do people playing, people gambling.
You,
You got people in there walking to exercise and whatever.
yeah, you'll want to talk to them.
On the floor, there's 8 people in there gambling. What's that about?
Yeah, again, you'll want to talk to them.
Employees than we are taking in.
Yeah. Yeah. We just control the tribal government side. There's going to be DNEDA, DNI will be up here in a minute, and same with the Gaming Commission. Same with. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
February, there was some money that came into all the Indian tribes.
Uh-huh.
And my boss, she's Fox Indian, and she got like $800 from her tribe because the president signed off on giving the tribes around here some money for something about the White House or something like that. So I went to call down here, nobody knew nothing. Well, the Comanches now are getting theirs. The Cheyennes got theirs. Where's ours?
I think what you're talking about is the Navajo settlement monies. Yes, the settlement monies that we got around 250,000.
Couldn't that make up the per cap that we lost out on?
Well,
There's a pamphlet in the back, on the back table I ran off for you guys, so you can kind of see what the settlement was actually for and how it was distributed. Because it's kind of confusing. I know some people thought it was handed down as a per cap payment to the tribe. It was not. It was indirect. Let's see, the ISDA, which is Indian Self-Determination Act. The governments were supposed to have been funded at a certain rate, and the government, Washington did not send down to the tribes what they had told them they were going to. So this started like in 1994 up until 2013, and they were being short-fought, the tribes were. So the Navajo took its court, and they won the settlement for all the tribes that participated. So it's your Indian Self-Determination Act, and it's your tribal services that we have paid for out of pockets a lot of times because they were not funded fully like the government had promised. So it was not a per cap payment for settlement for lands or anything like you got the per caps on before. It was actually monies that the governments had been expending out of their own pockets, and it needs to go back into the general fund. Some of the tribes that are really rich tribes, they handed it down to their, I mean, it was up to their discretion. You know, they've got big casinos in big cities, and they're making lots of money, so they actually didn't need it. So they decided to hand it down to their members.
Yeah, I was told that they can hand it down to the members if they want, but since we kind of got cheated on our per cap, I was just wondering if y'all could donate that to us when we
We've been
need
cheated
it.
on a lot of tribal government things too. It's been a tough 2 or 3 years around here. Yeah.
I think too, if you was,
Make a lot of money yourself for being on the committee.
it's $250,000, and if you just take a simple little math and divide that by 1,465, you can see how much money that would mean. It's not that much. Certainly, we took money, and this was during some lean years, several years ago, that we weren't able to meet the program funding that we were supposed to be given. And so we had to take out of the nation's pocket in order to support those programs. This money that's been received now went back into the general fund to make up for what we had to take out of pocket. Do you have a question, sir? Yes, sir.
Yeah. You want to know where we're at as far as this point?
What's going on from last year? That's a big concern last year, you know. But
talking about the per
per
capita.
capital payment from this year.
Yeah, I'll get to that. There's a slide for that. Yes, sir.
I just want to know how much of the percentage is the tribe owning for like Green Tech and Indiana? Even though Green Tech, I mean, yeah, DNEDA. I mean, how much of a percentage is that of the tribe?
So economic development gets the 25% out of the wrap, correct? So of that money,
What is it? Does the tribe, what percentage of the tribe owns that though, for the Green Tech?
It's
We
100%.
A
We own-
100%?
Yeah, we own the building, yes.
So
Green Tech is.
The Green Tech building is owned by the tribe.
The
And
Green
all of that monthly lease that goes, that's coming from Green Tech, 100% of that, after the cost,
So
you
it's
know,
not privately owned or anything like that? It's all part of the
it's owned by the tribe.
Well,
Yes.
Well, the building is owned by the tribe, the tenant that's in there, that's their business, so it's their private business.
Yeah, we're not occupying that building. It's being occupied by a leasee. Gabriel is the company name. So they're paying us X amount of dollars, and that's going into our fund. We're more or less turning that money over and paying down our debt for that Green Tech
So
lease.
the business in there is privately owned?
The business is, yes.
If the business is privately owned by that entity, do we not get a part of it?
No,
Okay.
no.
We get a lease.
They're just
We have a
leasing
lease
our
with them.
building. We have a lease contract through us, and they're paying us a monthly rental on that lease to be able to occupy that building. They don't own that building, they're just occupying that building.
So that's how we get the money to them, it's just for rent?
Just rent for that building.
I thought you said, so Green Tech is just, what is Green Tech then?
It's just the building. Green Tech is just the building.
Do they use our tribal name for their private, whatever they make?
No.
Absolutely.
It's Gabriel Shocks. They came from Chickasha. They were in Chickasha, and we were able to steal them away, and they lease out that building because it meets their needs. It's one of the largest warehouses in the area.
Yeah, none of those revenues are any part of we don't own any part of that company. We just get the,
Jerry, are you going to speak to that?
Why is it
Okay.
people leasing it out also help pay, or do they help pay for that? Do y'all have funds to show that they're paying in for that building of the lease for it?
yeah, it's going back into economic
Do
development.
you have the numbers for it though?
Yeah.
What page?
Yeah, if you look on, it's sitting out there another income on,
But what page does it say specifically of that?
it's buried in other income. So if you look on page 7 in your revenues, so sitting out there in other, it's 484,000. Of that money, about 280,000 of that is the Green Tech lease.
How much do we owe on the Green Tech lease?
I think we're down to, on just our port, is close to 300,000 or 400,000.
I think it was a little over 400,000.
400,000.
Well, by the time we make the last.
You said just our part. Who else owes?
Well, it's all now been consolidated with the casino, Oklahoma. So
under
we,
the Nothing Entertainment
yes,
loan?
yeah.
It's still set aside as the Green Tech section. And we're paying down, every time we get lease money, we send Monopoly Entertainment to pay down on our share of the loan.
To get that done, because we're helping to pay for our portion of that capital and that interest too. So
When they refinanced the casino loan, they took all debts of the nation and put
Made
them
it
in
one,
one.
Yeah.
consolidated.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get ours paid off before they get theirs paid off.
yeah, and we literally cut that in twofold. I mean, it started over 1.1 million when we got a hold of it, and through the Green Tech, the lease money, and then the DNEDA, the Economic Development RAP money that we've been paying down, that's significantly cut into that. Any other questions?
Dummy Solar. But it was on Green Tech.
And there are some other uses. There's 40 acres of land there, and Jerry, I would ask that Jerry maybe speak to that because there is we're looking at a solar array which will inhabit that 40 acres, which goes back to what we originally conceived of Green Tech to be a green energy efficiency type of complex to manufacture or build out any kind of grids or anything.
So my question is like so the Green Tech is just a building, right? And then so do we have an income? I mean, can we see a projected income of theirs? What percentage they're paying on the building versus what we're paying off of it for leasing it?
they're like I said, they're paying about $280,000 to us
What percentage-wise on what we're paying and for what they're paying?
of what we're paying down back to Lenape. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, back to the tribe itself, what they're paying off for a percentage of the, for what? The, what's it called, the Gabriel lighting? What's the percentage Gabriel lighting is paying into the building for that percentage of it?
So the lease payment. So does the lease payment cover the monthly loan payment or more?
Absolutely. I mean,
Yes.
But we don't know, I mean, because I don't have it big, I can't see it up here, that's why I'm asking, do y'all have it? If
Well,
you don't have it, I mean, just.
well, the building, that cost of the building was somewhere around, well,
3.1 million? 3.1, is that seven?
no, I don't think it was that much.
It's
2.8.
2.8, yeah.
2.8. So we're of the 280, and plus the additional economic development money that we're putting into paying down that debt. I mean, we're paying close to $500,000 or $600,000 a year, just this past year alone, down on that debt. If we were just making normal P&I principal and interest payments, we would only be needing about $250,000. So we're significantly cutting into that debt.
I'm not denying that y'all paying that. I'm just asking for the figures of it so I can see it.
I can get you figures. They're not in my report, but I mean, yeah, I mean, they're not in my report, but I can absolutely get you numbers on that if that's what you want to see. Yes, I don't have a problem. So after this, get with me and I'll get your email or whatever you want, your phone, and I can get you that information.
Right, okay,
Does that work?
yes.
Okay. Because I can't spit that out right now. I'll have to do some digging to be able to come up with exactly what you're wanting to see.
Okay. You don't know the percentages of it?
No, not off the top of my head. No.
I think on a positive note, the building's not empty. You're getting income for rent.
Absolutely.
And that's going against the note.
Yeah.
And if the building were empty, then it
Would-
would be a bad
We'd have a problem on our hands.
Yeah, we'd have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be honey.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, ma'am. It's the Capital One note that financed more or less Casino Oklahoma, and there was other, it started off with Bank of Oklahoma, and that helped finance the Green Tech building and a few other things. And then we got Casino Oklahoma. We went to Capital One, and through that, we refinanced that note, and we took Bank of Oklahoma and everything else and consolidated that down. So the tribe side of that was just Green Tech building, because Lenape is the one responsible for paying down the note for Casino Oklahoma and for all of those building costs. But we just took, since we own title to Green Tech building, then those revenues and those payments alone are our responsibility. So we did more or less an agreement with Lenape to say, this is our share of this. We're going to pay 4%, which is the percentage that they're paying, and we're going to pay them and pay them down as if, we finance with them, and we're going to pay that down to them.
So you're in the refinance part.
We refinance with Capital One. We're just paying down our responsibility. It's all together. Capital One has the note. The whole thing. Yeah, they have it. Our responsibility related to Capital One's note is just for the Green Tech building. Instead of paying Capital One for that, we pay Lenape. And then Lenape turns around and pays Capital One. That's how that all goes together.
Okay, so we don't own the building.
The tribe absolutely owns Green Tech building.
We're gonna own it when we get it paid off. How's that?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
The tribe has title to Green Tech building.
We have debt. We do have debt.
There's a
against it,
lien
yes.
against it, absolutely.
Yes.
But that's part of the collateral on that note. It is part of the collateral. So
We're being continued
far as I know. I mean, as long as they're paying lease and, yeah, I mean.
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's
I
what
think
it's about.
I think that's the plan. But
And I would suggest that's a good question for D&I as well, because they're the ones managing the property. They're the ones that brought the leaseor in, and they're the ones that continue to manage and make sure that property is self-sustaining, paying off its debt, which it's doing, and doing in an accelerated way. We are paying off that debt very quickly.
it's 100% owned by the tribe.
DNI is a DBA of the DNEDA. DNEDA and DNI, same thing. It's the same thing. They use DNI for their government contracting because it's a 3-syllable, because that's how the government works. They want everything to be 3 syllables.
So if there's a growth of stuff that the DNI can get, right, there's certain things that DNI for the government contracts that they get, it's gross at what they can, what they're allowed to profit off of, right?
Correct. That's in the government contracting, and that's a question for Jerry.
Do you have that?
Jerry does. Jerry will be the one presenting DNI.
Yes.
He's within that
Yeah.
range.
Let's try to keep that with Jerry
DNI and Lenape will have their own separate reports. This is just related to the tribe. I'm gonna let's talk about RAP, kind of where we are. This is 16 and 15, so 9/30/2016. These are all fiscal year numbers, so for the whole year. Lenape, so Lenape obviously pays to Delaware Nation. That's the RAP. So again, total wise, from 2015 to 2016, we were down 1.5 million, or the 36.9%. That's the breakdown. So the 33% for per cap and tribal government, and so forth and so on. So the next slide shows you where we're at as of now. Through March, this is through May, so we have 4 more months. So the number that I've got on the bottom, keep in mind there's still 4 more months that are going to accumulate in that number. I was just giving you a number as far as of the first 8 months. That's the number that we're at now. So Lenape to Delaware Nation, like I said, through March, that number, we were down 16%. From where we were in March last year. We've caught up to now we're only down 4%. So I mean, what I've seen is it's continuing to go up, but it's hard to tell. It's still in a volatile market. But tendencies have been looking up.
So these, the rap is only from the green tech and the casino?
RAP is all the casino. RAP is just the casino.
How come it can't be relocated from, like, different places, like the lighting company?
You can't do that. Not in this particular RAP. If we were going to do that, we need a separate RAP. The RAP that we have has to be approved by General Counsel as well as the government, and that's the one that we have right now. You can't tamper with it. You have to leave it alone. But whenever we start getting profitable in our DNI, that's exactly what we need to do. We need another RAP that will allocate how those funds are expended.
So the tribe owns the DNI or the other green tech or the other companies like CSI?
Correct. We own it all.
But they're not back into the people yet?
Well, they haven't made profit yet. See, let Jerry Kennedy explain that.
Yeah, that's a DNI question.
I mean, but it still comes back to the...
There's no profit to be
We have not received a dime yet.
And we won't until we have the debt paid off, which, again, he'll explain where we're at and how quickly it's being paid off.
Okay, so we have 2 different reps? You said reps?
No, we have one RAP.
One rep?
One RAP.
Yeah.
One RAP.
Gaming only?
So these are revenues just from gaming that come back to the tribe. And then the revenue allocation plan is how it gets allocated back to the tribe and to the members.
Do we have a hard figure of which casino is doing better with one than the other?
That would be a Lenape Entertainment question. Let's try to focus on the tribe. We have 2 other reports coming up, and I think that they would answer your questions much better.
Lenape is a completely separate entity. It's a component unit of the tribe. It's got its own board. It's got its own financial staff. All of that is completely separate. Same with DNI. They've got their own board. They've got their own staff. So they're a component unit of the tribe because the tribe owns them, but yet they're completely separate management. So the accounting that we do is the federal grants. It's the money that we get as far as our RAP and how we allocate that, and the money for the members and the tribal members and all that. That's what we control here. The HUD funding, the cultural preservation money, all of our grants, all of our buildings that we own here, that's all controlled through EC and the accounting side of that is what me and Janelle and that staff do.
Because I'm just trying to get the question which ones, you said the casinos and stuff, but which ones are you saying how we're getting up from it? Well, no offense, I go out by Hinton, and I don't see no one in the casinos. I've been out there a couple of other times, and I'm wondering how you say that Hinton's doing okay.
Actually, Hinton is outperforming Gold River right now.
But that's what I'm asking for. I mean, you don't have the numbers on here for me. I mean, I could take your word for it, but I don't have the projected numbers on here or nothing. I mean, it's just numbers. That's all this thing is going into right now. It's not divided out. I mean, it's okay. I mean, nice presentation.
Sure, we don't get that. I mean, we don't get the financial numbers of Lenape. Now, no, the AC does, but they may report on that. So
Those questions are going to be better handled by the 2 entities, and
Yep.
just hold off on your question, and I think
see
you'll
the
get your
day-to-day
answer.
numbers of that. I don't. I just see what comes to us as far as a check. That's all we get. So, okay. So, like I said, we're only down 4%. 4 more months left in the year. Again, we'll see what the outlook is for them. Just kind of summing up highlights of 16-17. Finalized the purchase of the Cultural Preservation Building at 103 West Broadway. Completed the maintenance storage building and fence for Casino, Oklahoma. HVAC system for Tamanin Building. The sewer system tie-in with the city of Anadarko is that was in process during 16. It's now coming to a close in 17. So we're getting through that project. And obviously the audit we talked about earlier, but clean opinion, no significant comments there. Lastly, kind of what we've got on the horizon. Our main thing is purchase the land for $120,000 at 908 910 Peachtree Road. 5 acres are going to be used for our Children's Garden Early Childhood Center. We've already got funding for that, for the first stage. With ICDBG grant in the amount of $800,000, and that's going to be what's funding our first phase of that building. So that's all I've got. Sure. Yeah, that's some other property that we own.
There's 2 little portable buildings, if you'll notice, right to the west.
Okay, you're talking about down here by Walmart.
Yeah, if you know where the windows, Wright's window tinning is.
Yeah, I know where.
There are 2 little portable buildings right to the west of him. One's had a church in there that's been in there for 20 years, I think.
Yeah.
And we get a monthly rental income from them. And then there's a little beauty shop in the other little portable building, and it's rented out right now. We get a little income from it. And then the billboard, there's a billboard up there that we get a yearly. I think it's like $1,800 we get for the
Great,
billboard.
I've never seen those before. I didn't have a clue what.
And actually, the property runs straight back through there,
Yeah.
and the 20 acres kind of jots out. It's really a nice piece of property back there that we can do a lot of things with down the road.
And then one other thing I'd heard before was something about buying a house for somebody who's writing grants and they're no longer with us and we're still paying for a house. Can you tell me anything about that?
That wasn't under my watch.
But financially.
I can tell you.
Okay, financially.
I can tell you what I know financially about the house.
Yeah.
It was sold for $250,000 and like
To the tribe.
to Theta McPherson
was in, I want to say 2008, 2009.
Still on years ago, yeah.
It's been, unfortunately, it's been way too long ago. So hopefully we'll get that money back, or some of it anyway.
I wouldn't bet on it.
Well, some of it.
Some.
We'll never get back what the house sold for.
Or the attorney fees that you know, they're trying to, because whenever they tried to evict her, she turned around and sued the tribe, breach of contract, stating that we didn't pay her on some grant that we supposedly was awarded that we didn't receive.
She didn't do anything for us.
No, she didn't do anything for us, but, you know, she tied us up in court and secured a roof over her head during that time.
Hey, Michael.
Kyle, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that to you.
Michael, why were we housing her?
What?
No, I didn't. I mean, it was 2008. I can't attest to what was taking place, you know.
Wasn't she
I've
supposed
only
to
been
be?
on
Kerry,
the
were you
EC for
still
the last 2
chairman at
years.
that time?
Yeah,
Did
and
you answer that then?
she was supposed to have put up security as well as we would have the house as collateral against that loan until she paid it off. So we would actually be double collateralized, if you want to put it that way. From what I understand, we never got the security, and I believe that was in the form of some land in Maryland or something like that to secure the loan. Why it proceeded forward, I have no idea, but it certainly turned into something it wasn't supposed to, and she's been sued, and finally we got her out of the house. The hope is that she's got a lot of things kind of stashed away and hidden as far as assets and monies and things like that we are trying to attach. Well, we weren't paying for the house. We owned the house. We were the house was mortgaged to her. It was a mortgage. And she was supposed to be making payments and should have been
Making no type of payments?
she should have been she should have been kicked out of the house a long time ago. She took advantage of us.
So you burned your shop down?
It's struck by both lightning, restlessness,
I can't even laugh at it because the fact is it should have never happened. It was a bad deal. It was a bad thought. She failed. The moment she failed, the lock should have been changed on the house. She should have been ousted out then. We don't even help tribal members like that. And that should not have been.
And if she was able to tie it up in court for 2 years, that means that she had to have some kind of contractual backing. Otherwise, the judge would have just thrown it out. And what court was it in? Was it down in county or?
we just filed down there.
Yep.
So what
Would we have a
court-
copy of the contract somewhere?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That just cannot happen again.
And have we had an appraisal since she ran the house into the ground?
We're getting a press
Okay.
release now. We had to wait on her to come in. These are-
Did that go to the appellate court?
It just went to down here to.
Oh, okay.
No, it went.
Well, she did appeal
She
it.
tried
She did appeal
filing
it,
it, and
but we finally got done with her, 2 weeks ago. She cannot file anymore on it.
My understanding, she told me that the Supreme Court is going to hear it in September or October this year. So it
She
may
has so
not be
much
over.
money to hire attorneys. Why didn't she buy the house from us? Like, you know, she's.
I don't know.
She's a different lady. let me tell you.
She gets paid for it.
Any other questions for Kyle? Can I excuse Kyle? Yes, sir. Real quickly, what's your name, sir?
Montana Beaver.
Montana Beaver.
Yes. Well, I have a question, and it's why don't we have a housing authority here anymore? We do. Oh, okay. Well, see, like Wichita's have their tribes and they have homes. Okay, like for several years now. Why don't we have our own like that? You know, like our own. Well, not residing in Anadarko. In Anadarko. Really?
He's probably trying to say something like, okay,
conference land. Built
Yes, yes, yeah.
16 houses. I worked, did all the concrete out there, installed houses.
Yeah.
Actually, we got 100 homes turned in. I went to Figure Town, and then I went to Shawnee and did 100 homes for Apple Station. What would be the process, or how difficult would it be for us to be able to start up something like that for our own tribe?
It's a very good question, and something we have struggled with, several administrations have struggled with that issue. The housing authority, as I was saying about programs, haven't been run as effectively as it should have been, and because of that, we're paying the price now, and we can't go get the grants that are available. So until we get caught up, until we get everything cleared, which we had a HUD audit recently, and we came through with flying colors, which gets us closer to being able to submit for those grants and start building our own housing units. So, does that answer your question? Very good.
Kerry, I have a question.
Yes.
Is there?
Brittany Williams, by the way.
Yes, sorry. Is there a waiting list for those? Are they ready to move in or don't?
I understand there's a waiting list, and the last report we had was there 2 homes.
We had 2, but I think
One of them was spoken for, but there is turnover. I know that a lot of people were complaining because of one of the things that we encountered and realized is that we had not raised our rental payments, things like that, and it was a sticker shock to some of the tenants that were in there whenever we had to raise those payments because they hadn't been, like I said, it hadn't been run as effectively as it should have been.
Kerry.
Yes.
May also include that the audits were not being performed on the tenants that were in the low rent homes, and that it was actually, over the years, those people that had raises, they had changed jobs, they was earning more for their families.
They were no longer low income.
They was no longer qualifying
Yeah.
for the rent rates that they was at, and they had to be adjusted in order to stay within our federal guidelines and keep us in compliance with HUD. And so when those audits were performed, they hadn't been audited in 3 or 4 years, or maybe even more, and all of a sudden now they've been audited, and their rental rate went. I mean, in some cases, I don't know. I know that if I was the tenant, it would have freaked me out because the rates that from what we was being told that people was paying for the low income homes and things of that nature to the rates that they had to move them to, yeah, that would have been a hard one to swallow, especially if you're trying to raise a family and keep food on the table. So, but it's a situation where we tried to go up gradual, but we still had to stay within a time constraint guideline with HUD, and so we
in
had
order
no
to get one of
choice.
those, you have to meet those guidelines, the law?
Yeah, there are
Yeah.
guidelines.
Eligibility requirements. Yes.
HUD requires that they charge at least a minimum of 15% of the total income of the household. And we weren't even charging that. And, some tribes charge more, but that's the least amount that you can charge. So we were at the least amount that HUD will allow, which is 15% of the total income. The problem was these people were making a lot more money, so that 15% was still no more than 50% of their total income, but it nearly doubled on them because they hadn't been audited and hadn't updated their income levels like they should have on a yearly basis. So that's why some of them go, oh my gosh. So we weren't even collecting enough money to be able to do any repairs on those homes. So now we'll have some money coming in to where we can actually keep those homes up in better state than what they were. They were just in disrepair, and there were no funds coming in to help replenish.
So as of now, we have 17, they're in progress, they're hopefully get done and just apply and.
Yeah, and she just keeps a waiting list in there all the time when you talk to her.
Melanie Watkins.
Yes, thank you. I have a question. I know that I felt a little girl, and you guys have seen the progress that the Wichitas have had throughout Anadarko. The Wichitas are able to set a ceiling at $500 a month. Why can't our tribe set a ceiling on their rent? Through Nahasda, I believe that you can set, especially since we're a sovereign nation, that we have you guys have the authority to set the amount of a ceiling. I don't mind saying that right now, mine and my husband's house payment is $985 a month. We have 3 sons. I have no idea. I know that we did our floor and it was like 1,100. When we did it, we have 5 bedrooms. It's a long, but they're little bedrooms. It's a long Indian home. I think it's an old Kiowa home. But I'll tell you what, yes, and that's why I'm wondering, why can't our EC set a ceiling when other tribes like the Apache Housing Authority and the Wichita's surrounding areas, why can't we set that as well?
Who wants to take that?
I just want to say, I think our housing program has probably always been one of our weakest programs.
Yes.
And I say that because every time I've ever called for one of my kids or something, the answer is, well, the last person that was here, they didn't do it right, and they got the grant all screwed up, and, there's really nothing we can offer right now. But you might call back. Well, that's not the hope that I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear that there was going to be a fix to the wrong from the last. And it just seems like that's been year after year after year. And I don't understand that. I mean, we have a young lady, around.
We have a young lady there now, though, that is really trying to do the right thing about the program.
Well, and
we're
it's
having, we're having growing pains because of it, because it's been a shock to a lot of the participants, and not a good shock for them, I'm sorry to say, but we've got to get in line with everybody else, and then, good houses, we need better houses, there's no doubt about that.
I think, too, what we'd like to hear is instead of land for another daycare, our town's getting saturated with daycares like it is casinos. We don't need another daycare. There's plenty of them around.
I will state as a parent, little kids, there are wait lists at every child care center in Anadarko.
And it's Donnie, too.
It's Donnie.
There didn't used to be a
Here's what age, but they're on waiting lists for certain ages.
Plus,
I'd
Chef.
rather see land bought for housing and apartments
I agree too.
for tribal members than another center. But again, I don't have any smaller children at the moment or small grandchildren. And I know there's some good individuals here in town that take care of them. But I'm just saying, if there's land being bought, that should be taken into consideration, housing and apartments for.
And Carol, to your point, one of the things is right now there were grant opportunities for a daycare center, and we identified that as a need. As a matter of fact, we passed out the surveys to determine that there was a need. So that's why we're on that track. And as far as the housing, you're absolutely correct. Here we've been talking for 30 minutes about homes. We obviously are not doing well as far as our housing program, and it certainly needs attention and has gotten a lot of attention lately, trying to get that program back in line. And to your point, Melanie, I believe that, and I'll certainly look into it for you, the reason that we don't have a cap is that we're having to make up for all of these years that we were out of compliance. And so until we get caught up and get that in place, and I may or may not be wrong, then we can attach a cap once we get the program on level ground and running the way that it's supposed to, and then that will allow us to go out and seek more grants for more houses.
Because it's not Melody's fault.
No, it is not. That is absolutely correct. It's absolutely correct. We had a number of people that actually moved out of their homes because it jumped up so high, and you can't blame them. But there's nothing that we can do either. We're trying to fix a broken program, and these are just some of the things that we have to deal with. We were about to get our program yanked, and put it to you that way, and that would have been even worse.
Did the tribe get a slap on the hand, or did they have to actually pay back that revenue that they didn't?
No, they came in here and they've done a lot of training. They've been in here and done several trainings.
So they didn't leave an invoice saying, well, you guys are, okay, cool.
But we don't get it cleaned up though. We're in fear of losing your house. But we're on a lot better ground than what we were a couple of years ago.
Can I
It's just gonna take time.
Yes, ma'am. Your name?
Marilyn Estelle. I know what the town of Anadarko needs
is like a halfway house because we have a lot of Native Americans that are dying on the streets and nowhere to go, no help, nobody wants to take them in. Families don't want to mess with them. And if all the tribes can get together and fix a halfway house for our people to get them off the streets, off of alcohol, and where they need to be.
Rehabilitation. Yes, absolutely. Agree. Thank you for that. All right. Can I excuse Kyle? Are we done with financials? Anybody have any other financial questions? You got to keep this meeting moving.
Actually, earlier I asked you how we're doing with this. Earlier I asked you how we're doing with this program.
The per cap.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a program. That's the RAP.
Okay. Well, I asked you.
Well, that's what he was pointing out on the finances, and I think that Lenape Entertainment. Yeah, he did. He had it on a slide. He showed. Is that same slide where we're at as far as our per cap checks? It was $515, and we still have 4 months to go. So projected very similar to what it was last year, but again, it's that rocking, going up and down. Does that answer your question, sir?
And you said it went back into the tribe, but how so?
Which way?
The indirect cost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the programs, so we get an audit, we get an IDC audit, or more or less kind of an audit. An IDC audit every year. So that's all of our indirect costs. A lot of our salaries that we can put into that. Some of our capital can't go into that, but there's a number of different costs that we can put into our IDC. And so what happens is that a rate gets calculated based on all of those expenses. Before, we've been somewhere around 10, we've been as low as 7%. So what that means is, now that we're at 27%, all of these other programs, our federal programs, more or less pay the tribe 27% of their expenditures. They pay 27% back to the tribe to offset all of those all of our indirect costs. Some of it's salaries. It's a number of our general fund salaries, and it's a number of different things that go into that. So then the federal programs, your HUD, your IHS, all of these other programs, therefore now you're submitting, when these federal programs are submitting their quarterly expense reports to them, well, it's got this big number now for IDC, indirect cost, and it's whatever it is, but it's gone up. So now they're funding us back for those expenditures.
Where is that going?
It's going back into the federal programs, and then the money that's coming from the federal programs to us, to the general fund, is going to offset those expenses.
Just all federal programs, not a specific.
The majority is federal funded. That's the point. Is for those programs to share, because they're utilizing all the general side too.
Yeah, but it's going into salaries and what else though?
Is
any going back into the tribe for like programs? Housing, social services, anything?
Or just into the tribe?
It
has to go to fund finance because all programs use finance department, right? Anything that you guys use that the government provides for you is to pay for those services. Okay?
It's the point of IDC. It's not to be. It's not a program. It's not to support the programs. It's used to support all of those general things that all the federal programs utilize, like the finance office, marketing, a number of different other programs, IT. There's just a number of different programs that goes to help offset. The point of that is that rate's gone up, and now our federal programs are getting reimbursed those dollars, so it's helping to offset some of the general expenditures.
Do you have a number for that there?
Yeah, there's a number in there. I mean, indirect cost.
I'm glad you're interested. I hope you'll sit down with Mr. Dover and go over some of that stuff to your satisfaction.
Yeah, I mean, indirect cost revenue, as far as the numbers that the tribe paid into, that the federal programs paid into the tribe, that number was $733,000. So, like I said, from this point, that same time last year, It was only 227,000. Do you see that?
I think people forget that when you work for a federal program, in my case, I do work for one. Luckily, I don't pay any indirect costs because no one tribe does something for us.
Right.
So that means we buy our own toilet paper. We buy our own paper towel. We have to mow our own lawn. Stuff like that, that if I paid indirect costs, then the tribe would do that for us.
Right.
We gotta have toilet paper. That's all there is to it.
All right. Sonny, yeah. I'm gonna bring Sonny Allen up. She's gonna give the Lenape Entertainment report. Thank you, Kyle. Got it? Need anything? All good?
Good afternoon, my name is Sunny Allen. I'll give the report for the Lenape Entertainment. As Kyle did say, we're down in revenues a little bit this year. We are down 3.4%, and that's just due to a lot of different factors. Like I said, being saturated in the casino industry right now here, with the casinos being so close. With that being said, we are at our total revenue before transfers was at $4,622,882. We are down $634,000 from last year. Total transfers that we've given the tribe is $2,786,628. We are down a little bit also from we took on the surveillance department. That came from the Gaming Commission and came to the Lenape Entertainment, so we've taken on them. As far as this being down in revenues, there is an upside, and we have purchased 96 games that the tribe owns ourselves now. So we are making the commission off those. We're saving the commission that we'd be paying the vendors. That's being saved right now, and we have saved for this last 8 months $328,774. So as we get those paid off, we are looking at possibly getting more games so we can have those for the nation as our own. So we're not having to pay the commission to vendors. And that can go into whatever other kind of transfers that they're wanting to help fund the different programs for the nation. I know there was a question earlier about employees, and there being so many employees over there. We actually have a lot of openings at both casinos. We have applications in the back. We'd like to encourage every tribal member to apply. You get preference first for Delaware Nation members. We have a printout of the openings that are there and a job description for each. There are right now 5 currently over at Gold River Casino and 7 at Casino Oklahoma in Hinton. So we'd just like to encourage you all to look at those, branch out, talk to people that you know, encourage them to apply. That's all I have. Right now, we are working on, they're talking about the Capital One loan. We're looking at refinancing that, so hopefully that'll get taken care of soon, and then that'll help bring our revenues up as well, so we can save money with refinancing.
Can you explain a little bit what Kerry said in his opening about restructuring the gaming board?
I'm not Gaming Commission, I'm Lenape Entertainment. I'm
Okay.
Sonny, on the revenues that you started out with, say that she was down by what was it,
sorry. 3.4%.
And that's year to date?
That's for 8 months. That's for 8 months, so that's not for, well, year to date, yes.
That's
For the end of May.
I was assuming, but I just want clarification.
Any questions?
And how many sit on your board?
There's 3 of us.
Okay, and is that a rotating every 2 years or
I've been on for 2 years, so
3
it's 3-year term.
3
Yes.
years.
3-year term? Okay.
Are you also on the election board?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
I would think that would be a conflict of interest,
How so?
because you make decisions in regards to the incomes that come in off of the casino, right?
Not individually, no. We leave those to our management. We oversight the management, not the employee themselves.
Okay.
Stacy?
Okay, now, you talked and you spoke
absorb that balloon payment at the end, but nothing was held, just based on everything that came to the tribe, for the government programs, to go through the route for the per capita payments. And so what that's left us with is a pretty big bill that we was gonna be holding, there the second quarter of 2018. And so, and not to mention, we've had the economic downturn, the oil and gas industry is really struggling in the area. It's starting to gain a little bit of momentum, but it's nowhere near where it used to be, or where we would like it to be in terms of revenue for the gaming enterprises. So, they've been working for the past 2 years now, almost 2 years, in trying to renegotiate terms with Capital One. They've also they've had some talks with Bank of Oklahoma, who we initially used whenever we built the Gold River Casino back in 2006. So, but Bank of Oklahoma, whenever they heard the terms that Capital One, that we currently have with Capital One, and as well as the terms that's been negotiated with Capital One, in order to lengthen out the maturity date of the loan. Bank of Oklahoma, they chuckled over the phone because they told us we better not pass that up, because Bank of Oklahoma couldn't offer and couldn't extend those same interest rates and concessions to the nation. So, and we're right at it will be signed within the next 30 days. So that we've had some issues with the non-interference agreement, making sure that the lands are released up again, because right now all of that land that the nation owns up there around the property is tied to that loan. What we've tried to do is get that sectioned off where we can go ahead and put the rest of that land in the trust, because right now it's encumbered by that loan agreement. So, but they've there's been countless man hours spent on renegotiating that loan and making amendments to that loan is essentially what they're going to be doing. And hopefully within the next 30 days we'll have that put to bed, and we'll be able to, we won't worry about a $6 million deficit come May of 2018.
So what are the terms of your loan?
1 3/4% over
No, the EBITDA number is going to go down, but it's
LIBOR.
LIBOR.
1 3/4% over the LIBOR. Whatever and it changes daily, but we'll be set on that rate. But the nice thing is that casino will be paid off in May of 2020, which is not that far away. That was a $17 million loan originally.
And then the kicker is a lot of people like to think that based on the fact that our per cap was so much just with Gold River, and then turn around and when we had another casino, well, it should automatically double, but the problem is that our debt service, the original loan on Gold River was $4.2 million. Well, you go from a $4.2 million to a $17 million note, and you've really done something. You quadrupled the loan payments. You quadrupled what you're paying in quarterly, and unfortunately, the economy was not sound enough in the Hinton area to support another casino being opened up right across the highway.
Right across the street.
To one that was already established, and so, there's been some growing pains, but based on the numbers that are coming from the Hinton property, they're solid. I can attest to that. That casino can stand alone by itself, whereas in the beginning, it is struggled. If the Gold River property was not as successful as what it was, the Hinton property wouldn't have been able to meet its debt service. So.
Can y'all share plans of help, like in your ways of you think of helping people to come to our casino?
As far as marketing plans?
Yeah.
We do a number of different promotions. Right now we're giving away a tractor up there because it is a different, there are different different market than what we have here. And up there you've got more farmers, so we're trying a tractor for this time. Down here we normally
or gas or something, you know?
I think that they could church like the back of the building up, like really nice. Since we faced it the wrong direction. You know what I'm saying?
For outdoor seating, like.
I get why we face the east, you know, but this is a business deal, and sometimes we don't have the luxury of going that route. So, and when you've got $17 million on the line, you know, yeah.
But I do think the new access road helped a lot.
Yeah.
It did.
Oh, yeah.
And getting the stoplight there and everything.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're looking at doing some things for the sign, because you can't see the sign real well, so we're looking
Just
at
like,
redoing
some kind
that.
of huge cover to cover the AC, you know?
They planted trees, they will be bigger.
Okay.
Have y'all put y'all's name in like in the tourist stuff for like welcome to Oklahoma? You know how they got the
Like the
casino?
Travel Oklahoma website.
Right, or like just people touring through. Do y'all have your casino on there in those pamphlets or anything?
I don't know, but I can check into that, we should, we don't. But yeah, I will definitely.
Or
look into that.
signs out there.
We do have lots of billboards.
Well, I mean, like even like on the, because you know when you're driving by and it says, you know, this is such territory. Off of here is a casino or a hospital. Do we have signs and stuff like that too?
Yeah, we have billboards all the way. I saw some of them in Oklahoma City. A big one, big billboard. But to that point, in 1 second, Mr. Bieber,
I was going to add, since for Ellie,
please.
we have a new restaurant up there. It's changed to Red Dirt Grill and Cantina. We've recently added them onto the ODOT food signs on the exits. You can't put a casino on the ODOT food signs, but at least we can get them in to eat, so then they can play.
The restaurant's listed up.
The restaurant is on the new I-40 ODOT
If
exit.
you built a hotel, would you be able to put your hotel on
You
there?
can put your hotel on it. As long as it's not a casino hotel.
You can't mention the hotel, the casino.
Yes, Mr. Holton. I was wondering about like how Wichita's have their MMA fights and other curriculum activities for business funding and stuff like that. You know, just to attract people. You know, they have like dances and stuff like that. Yeah, concerts. Why are we not doing nothing? Oh, okay. All right.
I just had a comment. I just had a comment that my husband and I were at the casino at Hinton last week. We stood there for 15 minutes before we were seated in our new restaurant. I asked the lady in the bar, and there was a couple before us. I said, is there anybody working here, or are we closed? And she said, I'll get somebody. Nobody came. I went into the kitchen and said, is there anybody working here? So we've got to fix that, because I waited. Tuesday, I think it was. But we stood there, we waited. There was a couple before us, but I was going to tell somebody before that, we need to fix that.
Anytime anything like that happens.
Yes, sir. Hello. Yes, I just had a question. You know, you talk about trying to generate more business. Why don't we run a shuttle back and forth to most of these casinos? You know, not just for employees, but you know, you might have somebody come off the road up there and you know want to visit down here instead of using their transportation to come down here and go back. You know, which is probably through them be wasting time. Why can't we, you know, have a shuttle, bring them down here, and let them, you know, play in this casino, and then when they're ready to go, send them back up there, and vice versa. Because like a lot of people want to go to Hinton and check it out, but you know they don't. Sometimes you know it's fun for gas money and stuff like that. I figure if we have a shuttle that you know is run consistently, that we would generate more business. I mean, you might be surprised at the revenue that we can generate doing that.
We've actually tried that, but it was employee only that we tried, and it was very costly.
Have you tried with the cruising or like touring casino deals, like that bring all the people from all around? They fly in over to Lawton Airport and stuff, and other places. They come by charter and stuff. You guys have links to those people that come
I
up?
haven't heard of anything like that.
Yeah, in Biloxi, they actually fly people from Florida, Georgia to Biloxi, and then there's a shuttle bus, and people do this every other weekend. They are on those planes, flying to Biloxi, spending the weekend and flying back. They get comp, they get all kinds of things, but it brings in the people. Let me explain something to you that you can find on the Oklahoma Indian Gaming Association website. There for 3 years they've been doing studies on the markets, and one of the things that we are confronted with is that the populations are moving out of the rural communities. They're moving into the cities. The populations are going to the cities, so they're moving out of here and going to the cities. So there again, we've got to figure out, and that might be a very good way to bring that market back to us, shuttle them, do whatever. But those ideas certainly need to be explored, and certainly appreciate those thoughts.
Because I mean, there's places like up in Wyoming and stuff. They come in by the shuttle. And if you ever been up to Riverton or those other isolated places, there's nothing really out there. Small town, just like Garco or Hinton or stuff or anything. And they bring them out there. And there's people that come out there. They're all high rollers, so you want the good customer service. You want the reputable. You want the people to come back. And I would say from the compliment or the complaints of the people that are putting out, the customer service ain't there. Maybe that's one of the top deals. Maybe we need to reinforce that with the other people working there, that the customer service is one of our top deals to bring the people back.
And again, we need some employees too, don't we? So we have some openings. So certainly that might even, I'm not saying that it is, but could be something.
Because that's the deal that brings it back up there, is the service. One of the deals like that.
Anything else?
I noticed too, the outdoor concerts that Newcastle is holding, that's sure bringing in a good crowd too. I've not been to it, but I've been on the highway coming home.
It's just the amount that it costs for the permits, because that was when I first got here. I thought, well, why don't, because they started out having them years ago. I remember when they used to have the concerts here. And I thought, well, why couldn't we do that?
I didn't buy permits. We just had a concert. I rented toilets, I rented chairs, I rented a stage, and rented sound equipment, and I guess rented the entertainment. But we never, well, because that was all before the big disputes and all the
licensing,
copyright,
all that stuff.
It's a very complicated.
That is something you have to have insurance, because if the wind blew the tin away, then you have to.
Well, yeah, and most of the time you can get event insurance pretty cheap. It just compounds. It's just a add-on.
What about using organic resources? I mean, I'm pretty sure we have people that work in sounds. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people right now that have bands or whatever, or have other stuff. I mean, you have people that work in like big concerts stuff and everything. Have you tried, using your organic resources or stuff like that, or putting it out on it?
I'm not sure if we still have to have a permit. Is it for any? I'd have to look and see if, because we all know
That was
we have
something
bands
that new came up after I left, that somebody
that could be
called
something we
around,
could look into.
which I think another tribe probably turned us in.
Something. Something to keep in mind is we do get, if I'm not mistaken, we do get some residual customers off of what the Wichitas do. When they have a concert, we do our very best to bring them across the street. So we don't have that expense of putting on the concert, yet that brings that customer to that area. All we need to do is detour them over there.
What about donations?
Donations.
Like a donation
Oh,
bill,
okay.
and have people still come into the casino that play there, but the concert goes towards the donation.
Again, the permits and everything else would come into play and have to be
So you
considered.
can ask people playing there to help, for a donation or something, so they can speak.
It's an idea. Yes, ma'am.
I've been in those homes though, and they have a lot of, they're not clean,
The homes?
The Wichita homes, y'all been in some state, had some friends that had some homes there, and, they had like just a bunch of cockroaches, But I don't want that, I want something,
Much better. Okay, any other questions for Sonny Allen?
Yes. About our free plays, I know, about our free plays and stuff, we get $10 free plays or points, like $10. I come here with $20, and it's very difficult to get that up there, to 10 points and get 10 points back, from what you played. You could play your whole $20 and not even receive your 10 points. But I was wondering, how come it's not a $15 free play instead of 10? Oh yeah, this year.
There's a mathematical formula that's utilized, and it's proprietary.
Is there a rate Is there an algorithm? Because I know there's a way they negotiate the deal for it, but then is there a way to put like a median to help those customers and stuff come back for something? I mean, is there who decides that median for that?
Your free play is on a tier, and it depends on how
Well,
much you come in.
I'm not asking about the people, I understand that, but I'm asking about who decides that median for it of the winnings.
A lot of times the vendor does.
Yeah.
The vendor does?
Vendor does, yeah.
Do, I mean,
The whole, are you talking about like the whole percentage or what the games?
On what the payout
oh, like
is.
the randomness of it.
Okay.
Oh, now, okay, now the random, like the hit frequency and things of that nature, that's all built into the game.
Right.
Now, when you get talking about the actual payout percentages and things of that nature, that's typically.
I mean, the hit, who decides that hit? Or the vendor decides that hit for it? Or can the tribe
That's on
help?
the game
The hit
system
frequency,
itself.
the hit frequency is built into the game. It's an algorithm built into the game. It's not there's not a setting for that. But now, whenever you get talking about the actual payout percentage, there's usually a gap from so many percentile to another percentile. There's about three or four stops in between that.
Have you looked
And,
at-
the house actually can actually,
Yeah. Can you,
unless it's a wide area progressive, and then that's 100% set by the vendor.
have you looked at other tribes and stuff that have different percentages or that gap set of
No,
what they have?
that's kind of like showing your cards. People don't share that.
I mean, people can tell whenever it's kind of hard to get. I understand that, but I mean, have you looked at the projected overall for it? I mean, for that? Like, try to negotiate that, or try to look at, well, if we raise it this much, what is the projected of people coming back to it, instead of using just that hit number, or whatever type of.
Well, the payout percentages are, there's only certain, all the games that we have in-house can also be played in Las Vegas, New Jersey, and places where like the Las Vegas or the Vegas Game Control Board, they state that this game, or that any games they have to pay out within a certain percentile.
Right.
And so when the vendors develop the games, they only build those into it. They won't, unless it's tracked into them and say, man, I want my game to be extra higher or whatever, then they won't actually spend the money on R&D to develop that percentile. So our games, and believe it or not, most of the casino games are they're holding less than 15%. And so they're paying back 85% plus.
And then like for the class 2 or like class 3, do we have a class 3 in Hinton?
Yes.
What's
We've had three in both casinos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. If no more questions, I'm going to excuse Sonny Allen. Oh, sorry.
Okay, I work for Gold
Yes,
River.
ma'am.
Everybody here today that came for the meeting got a free play. I don't get one because I'm an employee. I feel like I get penalized for being a Gold River employee for something that's only maybe once, twice for the whole year.
Do they let you play
No.
anything regardless?
Finally, after
You can
what?
play?
We're supposed to be able to,
So
yeah.
why did you not get a
Yeah, you
free
should have a
play?
free play.
Cause Charmaine and them told me I
No,
couldn't
you
get one.
need a free play. If you're allowed to play, then you need free play.
Yeah,
I know
they
there's
told
some
me-
positions they don't let them play.
Yeah, it finally got to where just the last year,
We'll get you.
everybody gets to play.
Now, Patty, you bring up a very good point, and something we need to look at. Because of that, you're right. You're being penalized if you can't.
I have one more question.
Cause we don't
Yes, sir.
participate in promotions and
I
that.
thought we're only supposed to be on one board. Like, can we stand on multiple boards or something like that, or
Nothing said you can't.
that you can't?
Nothing says that we can't, but we're always looking, we have openings, and we'd love to have,
Okay.
we want to put your name in the hat. We struggle whenever it comes time to appoint. We're looking and searching, and, we even have it in the newsletters. There's people that
Do you
have been
have-
needed for different boards, and it's a struggle.
I think it should be asked of the executive board. I mean, you guys know who's serving on boards. I think if you know that they're already serving on another board, then they should not be asked to serve on 2 or 3 boards.
I think that is a little bit too much, though. No
Yes,
offense to you.
Well,
We
no,
did-
but in all fairness, I interviewed and put in an application and went through a whole process for the Lucky Entertainment as well.
I can understand if she was the only one that put in for it and stuff or anything, but having a bit too much, I think that is a little bit too over.
I agree. We do our best to try to separate and move people around, and certainly,
Do you have
if you would like to serve on the board, I'll make sure your name's on the next list.
And then another question, do you have certain qualifications for you to be on the board? Like a person has to have like college or a certain type of business?
Certain boards. The board that she's serving on, yes. The election board, not necessarily. I mean, yeah, you're going to have to do a little bit of learning to learn the election ordinance and things like that, but you don't have to come in with some kind of knowledge or some kind of license or anything.
Do we have like background checks or other stuff for that too, for the drug test for our board members and stuff they have to take?
Yes, and they have to meet an ethics code as well.
Ethics code?
Yes.
I'm just making sure.
Sure. Okay. I'm going to excuse. Thank you, Sonny. We appreciate it. Good job. All right. We're going to have DNI or DNEDA. It is one and the same. Don't want to confuse anybody. DNEDA / DNI. Jerry Kennedy. You can use this one, you can use that one. That one seems to scream at you, though.
Okay. All right, again, I'm Jerry Kennedy. As President Holton said, it's Delaware Nation Economic Development Authority. We did go ahead and change our name to DBA of Delaware Nation Industries, or DNI. Main reason we did that is because of government contracting. You go into a government contractor's officer and you start, hey, we're DNEDA. For some reason, they get lost after the third initial, and so we went back to make it a little bit simpler for our contractors. Just to recap the goals of last year, and again, our year is a calendar year, so it's a little bit different than the fiscal year of the tribe. So our calendar year is actually the year 2016, from January to December. Our goal was $42.5 million in revenue or total sales. We actually ended up exceeding that by about almost 4%. We ended up with $44.185 million. Last year, just as a comparison, in 2015, we ended up with about $38.6 million. So this year we grew our revenue by about 14%. So our profit goal, which again, similar to the casino to an extent, of our profit actually goes back to pay down on the note for purchasing CSI. Our profit goal was $7.2 million. We actually exceeded that. It ended up being at $7.54 million. I think there was in your book on page 11, I believe is where it's at. I know that for some reason they had to change some things. On page 12, that's actually a picture from last year. So I think some things got transposed, but the payments made to the CSI note or the purchase agreement was actually $7,537,000, not $7,357,000. Okay, we exceeded our profit goal by 4.72%, and then last year we had basically 5.67 that went towards the purchase agreement. We upped that by over 33% this year. So, some of our goals outside of the revenue numbers that we had for last year, we changed a few things. Again, probably in this list, which is probably pretty hard to read from back there, but number 3 was the branding of DNEDA. Again, we are also known as Delaware Nation Industries, which is making a big splash in the government contracting sector. The other things that probably are important up here for you as Delaware members, we had Indigenous Technologies, got ISO 9001-2015 certified, which is very difficult to do, and they also got CMMI Level 3 certification. We are tribally owned entities in the United States. We are maybe one of a handful, and by handful I mean 5 or less, that has a tribally owned company that has both of those certifications. And those are extremely important going forward for our plans for next year, 2019 and 2020. We're also, Create It is kind of our new company that's coming up. You can see we got them HubZone certified this year. We're actually going to be doing some other things with them pretty soon, which will also include the ISO 9001 and CMMI Level 3. Our forecast plans for this year, again for the calendar year for 2017, we should be doing about $57 million is our revenue or sales forecast goal. The profit forecast is about 9.6 million, which again, that would go to paying the note on CSI. That is a gain of about 29% over 2016. And then we're going to have 2 other businesses that we're trying to start that are outside the IT sector. We were actually hoping to get one of those agreements signed last week, but again, lawyers get involved, and so we're hoping that will happen by the end of the month. But that will be in manufacturing. That company will actually be known as Delaware Defense Manufacturing. And then another one is along the lines, I think somebody said it earlier, about some of the help that the tribe needs and a lot of tribes need. We're working on a deal with SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse Mental Health Systems Agency, and we're creating a company that wants tribal members of any tribe come out of programs, basically drug abuse or substance abuse programs, that when they come out, they'll actually go through a process where we will have a kind of a mentor that will call them once a day, keep them on the straight and narrow path. Eventually, if they're proving their efforts, then it'll go maybe every other day to maybe once a week to maybe once a month. And we've proven that through a study actually at the University of Pennsylvania, that somebody that goes through a program like that is 70% less likely to actually get back into that drug situation again. Yes.
Program or something. That person's in there because he became addicted to something. What you need is to find for that kid or something, that guy, that man to become addicted to something else. For that, I mean, we need type of that's what I was going to ask. Do you have programs to give that guy a trade or something to help him get him out?
That's actually what I mean. This is a phone-based program that was proven by the University of Pennsylvania, and we've just kind of expanded upon that. But to an extent, that's kind of what they're doing. They're in that phone call, they're becoming basically a confidant with that person and allowing them to say, hey, I might mess up, I'm getting back into this, or I'm doing this or doing that. And it's encouraging them to basically, okay, let's go back and what the plan is like you said, to get them involved in something else, And that's really what that mentor would do, is try to encourage them to keep going along with that. So
You're part of the right?
yes.
Okay. Well, are y'all helping the economic growth by making that guy marketable for where he's at?
That's not part of this program, but this program is actually going to be a company. It's a money-making company, but it will. But that's really what it's designed to do, is to really do that phone program.
How long has studies have been on this?
Actually, the University of Pennsylvania, they finished their study. It was probably about a 7-year study, I think. So anyway.
How much of the profits that will come from that program back to the tribe?
Actually, on the other 2, they're outside the IT sector. Those profits will all come back to the tribe. So, okay. Yes. In our IT and government sector, our goals this year to start one more company, which is D&I Professional Services, and then we're going to get Created, which is our next company besides Indigenous Technologies. They will be 8A certified, and then we're going to get the new company, D&I Professional Services, hopefully an 8A certification by the end of the year or start of next year.
Where are you picking up these people to work for you?
Well, basically, they're on, if you go into dnigov.com, they have all of the requirements and so forth, all the different positions that they're looking for. Majority of them, they're all IT, government, contracting related,
So I'm asking where?
all over the country. So,
It's not around Anadarko or our town and stuff like that?
no, we have 300 and as of the end of April, we had 324 employees. We had probably about 140 up at Tinker. We had 100 up in Ohio. Most of them have done the same thing in the military, and then they've came out to the workforce, and we've picked them up to.
And then you send them to classes and stuff?
No, they're already completely trained. Most of them have master's degrees in information technology, that kind of thing. So
what about here? How are you picking up people here? Or is it just you don't pick up people here?
well, that's what the future plans are. So for, again, 2016, the financial numbers on the left and on the right there, sales for last year is a little over 44 million. Next year will be about 57 million. And then it trickles on down. Again, 7.5 million went to the purchase agreement this year, and 9.5 million is expected to go to the purchase agreement to CSI next year.
Do you send a report of the profits that you get to our tribal treasurer? Does she get a monthly statement showing how much profit you made that month?
We get a monthly update from them. Yeah, he does a pretty lengthy report every month.
So then you get to see the profits that that company is making.
Yeah, and then we have audited financials.
And they
they're
have
audited
to
every year.
combine their audit with us, and they just completed their audit, so it's all combined as a Delaware Nation audit. So they just completed their audit also. It was very good.
How many tribal members do you have that are under these programs?
At the current time, I
At
think
the current
three.
time?
Three. So,
You have only three?
right.
Okay.
So, this year, for total sales, it's probably pretty hard to see at the back of the room, but they're broken down by company. Kind of the big deal for this year is we did purchase, CSI at the very end of 2014 or start of 2015. Indigenous Technologies, which we homegrown, started it back in 2011. It will actually do projected to do right at about 30 million. CSI is projected to do 18.5 million. So that just kind of shows you how quickly our tribal companies can grow. This is going to be skewed actually a little bit. Create It, we had projected at the start of the year, again this was back at the end of 2016, that they would do about 7.6 million. That was dependent upon them getting security clearance and so forth. Thanks to the wonderful election and all the changeover in the government, that took about 4 months longer than it should have. So the numbers probably overall won't change. It's just that Indigenous probably will end up doing probably about 35 million this year, and Create It probably around 2 million, 1.5 million, somewhere in that range. Well, again, all of that is going to pay for the CSI note. As soon as the CSI note is paid, then all of that would, come to that. I'm sorry? Well, it was projected at 75 million, and we did a deal with Ken Novotny for 48.3. So we got basically about a $26.7 million discount. So, I'm sorry. Yeah, just like President Holton said before, somewhere probably in 2020, middle of 2020 would be when we would project it to pay off. The conservative estimate would be in 2021 if things, some contracts don't fall the way we think they're going to fall. But there again, if the things that are coming to fruition in 2018, probably at that point, I think our board would be looking at the end of 2018, taking those numbers to Capital One, taking them to Bank of Oklahoma, one of the large banks, and saying, okay, can we go ahead and get a note? We pay off Ken Novotny, and then we're free and clear from Ken Novotny, and we can start just paying the bank, and whatever's left over, then that could go back to the tribe. But that's up to the board. I'm sorry? No, we'll probably do that after 2018. So, because 2018 is, we've got a lot of huge contracts that could come to fruition there. And if that's the case, then we're hoping that once that note gets down, right now it's right around the $36 million range is what we still owe Ken Novotny. If we get that right in the $25 million to $20 million range, that's when we think that would be the sweet spot for the banks around here to do that. The problem with the banks in Oklahoma is they're not used to this. They're used to, if they're going to loan money to you, they want to see what building do you have to put up as collateral, what do you have, and when we're talking about government contracts, that's a totally different world for them. But after we've proven this for 2 or 3 years and how well it's running, then that's going to be something they'll be probably more than willing to do. So, yes. No, it's nationwide, and we'll talk a little bit about those here in just a minute.
Paying for those buildings for them to work out of and stuff and everything like that? Or
Well, there's most of them are actually working on base, so we're not paying for any of that kind of
So
stuff.
then
So.
Mr. Novotny owns most of those business enterprises out there, right? And he
No.
uses a Delaware name?
Ken Novotny doesn't own any business other than some. I think he owns a baseball field in Oklahoma City. Other than that, that's about it. So. You all own the company.
so
The Delaware
we own
Nation owns it.
CSI and
Yes.
DNI?
Yes, you own every bit of it, 100%. So.
Was there a vote on purchasing that company, the CSI?
Yes.
The board, the DNEDA board.
They voted?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll vote yes.
CSI, when they first came to us in 2011, 2012,
Yeah.
was basically as a mentor protege program because we had no experience in government contracting. They were willing to step in and help us get into this sector.
So what's
So this developed into a relationship, and it got to a point where Mr. Novotny said, "Hey, I'm going to sell this," and he approached other tribes who were interested. However, it didn't meet what he wanted. He was afraid that they would take apart the companies, or it would not be what he wanted. He wanted someone to take this company and continue running it as it is. So that's what the purchase was for. To purchase all the companies, purchase him out. He continues to play a role in running those because he has the connections and the expertise. So,
And how much did he get for that company?
Again, other tribes offered him $75 million, and we offered him 48.3. So, and he took the 48.3. So. Because he wants to grow it huge, and we've told him that if he gets up to certain points, he's going to get percentages. Yeah, he has interest in growing this as big as he possibly can. So.
Have you looked at other tribes that are in this contract field that you're on in the competition or like the other tribes?
Yeah, we have lots of competition, which we can talk about that here in just a second. Just to get through this real quick, and then we'll answer any questions. The new companies, the Delaware Nation Defense, projected to do about $216,000 this year. DNI Professional Services, which will be the other IT company, about $300,000, and then DN Recovery Support about $300,000. And then the profit for this year, pretty similar to what we projected at the start of the year. Indigenous will actually probably make about $5 million of that profit. CSI $3 million, Created $1 million, and then the other ones down below. And then you can, any questions, which probably be hard to read down there, you can get on to dneda.net. You can ask any questions there. We'll be able to answer any of those. dnigov.com, you can see the different things that we do. And then also you can email me, jkennedy@dneda.com, and I'll be glad to answer anything.
do they need to say that they're a tribal member?
It would be good, yes. It would be good.
How did you get this company though? If I thought we were like hurting for money.
Well, that's the beauty of this. It didn't cost you anything. We got the $48.3 million company for $0. Basically, it was a buy-sell agreement. So he came to us, we made a deal, and we're paying him out with the profits of the company. So it hasn't cost anybody in this room really anything at this point. But once that note is paid off, then we'll be able to reap the rewards of it. Especially, we won't be deciding what happens to that money at that point. It'll be the executive committee that will be deciding what happens to that, to the programs and so forth.
For y'all, is there a board just for that?
Yes, there's a DNEDA board, correct. And there's, right now we have 4 members. We're about to add a 5th, but 3 of them are DNEDA members. Frank Keachai is our chairman. Derek Marino is our secretary. He lives in Colorado Springs. Randall Taylor is our treasurer. He lives in Colorado Springs as well. And then we have Clark Southard, who's an economic development specialist here in Oklahoma. And then we also have...
You normally have all of this handed out in the booklet.
Well, it is. It's basically on page 11 and 12. They just condensed it. So.
I got it right here.
Yeah.
But you normally would have all of your statistics like you had handed out so we could review it and look at it. If we had any questions, we could ask. In my opinion, just shoot numbers at us.
Okay. Well, that's your opinion, but they're not just shooting numbers. So. Okay.
I would like a list of your board members.
Okay. I can do that. I just read them off to you. So.
It would be nice if those were listed in the report that's in the
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we don't know. I mean, you said the executive committee, people think of other things. I mean, there's a whole bunch of committee or boards and stuff and everything. I understand you got a huge business, and we just want the oversight of it, so we can know, so we don't, we don't.
Maybe
get
you'd
the
like
wrong
to
impression.
have a resume of each of the board members too. Maybe we could put that in the next newsletter. Do you read the newsletters when you get them?
I haven't gotten those there in a while.
Haven't? So
No.
when you get your per cap check, you need to update your address.
They do mail them, is what she said.
Yeah, we mail them out,
Well, I haven't got one.
bi-monthly, and we put a lot of that information in there, but we can do it again.
So you already put the board members out there on the paper before?
Whenever a new one gets appointed, they usually have a bio.
Are they in there appointed by the executive committee, or do they serve like 2 or 3 years and then they get off?
They're recommended by the DMEDA board.
And hasn't Frank and Randall been on there for quite a while now?
Yeah, but they.
Frank has been on there for about what? Yeah, 3 years. Randall's only been on. Actually, Randall's the newest member of the board. He's only been on there probably a year and a half, 2 years.
For a short period of time, he resigned and he came back.
Okay. As far as you're asking about contracts that we have around the country,
So you're around the country?
yes. I mean, we
Are you international now?
basically we are. Yeah. So we have one of the big contracts that we've done. Typically, our biggest customers in the past have been the Defense Information Systems Agency, which is called DISA, and then the Air Force. This past year, we have one contract with the State Department. It's Department of State. So, thinking about that, what we're doing, and I don't want to get too political nationally on this, but everybody remembers Benghazi, correct? And what happened at Benghazi. The Delaware Nation right now, or DNI, Delaware Nation Industries, has the contract for the State Department to monitor every embassy around the globe, and we have set up an emergency response system. That's what we're contracted to do. So that way, if there ever is another incident at one of the embassies where any of our ambassadors or any of their employees feel threatened outside, they would actually use our system to notify the military, which the military would act appropriately at that point to do that. So that's something I hate to say this, the little Delaware Nation is doing for globally for the United States. We just got notified 2 weeks ago that, which will be in the next newsletter, we're going to be on the NAVAIR program, which is the U.S. Department of Navy. It's the F-35, the new F-35 fighter pilot, or fighter jet. It's amazing. I mean, it is like the stealth bomber combined with the F-16. It is revolutionary in air defense, and the Delaware Nation is actually serving as one of the support groups for that fighter jet. I mean, there's actually we're basically supporting Japan, Israel, and then some of the other NATO allies on it. So basically, just with information flowing back from the jets to the command centers and so forth. So.
I've been looking at your company for a while, and I didn't know you were international. I mean, but do y'all also do ties with DRG?
No.
No? So who's DRG buying stuff and everything?
I have no idea.
I mean, built the site for it. You said you and Holton were part of, y'all built that, and built the site for that. I mean, DRG is Delaware Research Group. I was just wondering if we save information.
Yeah, I mean, we don't do anything on that side.
What is Delaware Research Group?
Yeah, I mean,
Delaware Research Group is a big contracting stuff, and it has y'all's website created, and it's the same website as that, where that was made by.
We have DRG.
I'd like to know about it. If they're using Created's name, then we need to know about it. So they have nothing to do with us.
Can you look it up? I mean, just type in Delaware Research Group now. I mean,
Okay.
and CSI, and it has created on there also. And I believe so. I mean, there's Delaware Research Group. There's like 5 other companies. They're from the Buseys.
Okay, this is the Delaware Tribe.
Right, I believe.
It's the Delaware Tribe.
Yeah.
No, I think it's the Delaware Tribe. I think they have.
Well, I was just because I thought it was Delaware Research Group when you said I'm not assuming that you have, but I thought Created built the site for them. It has the same type of website as CSI, DNI.
For the
You're talking about the website.
yeah, for the Delaware Tribe, a long time ago we actually did help them out back in 2011.
So you did know.
Well, I mean, I don't know them by DRG. I just know the Delaware Tribe up in Orlesville. Is that what you're talking about?
Can you pull it up?
Well, if you're talking about the website, I mean, a lot of these websites are,
Well, I
I
thought.
don't know what service we use, Wix or any of the others. They're all canned sites and they're all going to, they don't look alike.
But I thought you said me and him just did Created.
We created the company, Created, and when we started that company, it was actually for printing services, it's going to do the newsletters and those kinds of things. It morphed into an IT company.
So it morphed into an IT company? Yeah, do you see it?
UC group of companies.
Yeah, Busey is Delaware Tribe. Busey, Gary Busey's brother. Gary Busey is a Delaware tribal member.
His cousin.
And it's his cousin, that's his cousin,
But
Carl.
other than
That's
having
what
an
it's
airplane on it, it doesn't have like the DNEDA seal or anything like that on it. I mean, it's got pictures of aircraft, military aircraft. But there's, CSI's got the same thing.
But I was just asking if y'all work with them. I'm not saying that y'all.
No, I mean we worked with them back. I mean the Delaware Tribe. We worked with them back in 2011, 2012. We started talking to them about some different things, and it just never went anywhere with their leadership. So
So y'all split off. Y'all don't have any business relations with them?
we've never had any business relationship with them. We've had discussions with them about trying to start businesses, trying to help each other out, but it just never went anywhere.
I was asking because you say international, and they're international.
Yeah.
And I'm not real sure as far as where DRG is. If I understood correctly, DRG is struggling to try to get into this sector. I'm not so sure that they really and truly are. Because Delaware Tribe is not doing very well financially. They're struggling to go after that. Some of the things that they wish they had, and I wish they were. All right, any other questions for Mr. Kennedy?
Okay.
Nothing?
Just to kind of let you know what President Holton said at the start, those are the 5-year projections for the company. So at some point, there's going to be plenty of money for the programs and so forth. And just like Mr. Holton said, that needs to start being explored and where that stuff is going to go and how it's going to benefit the members. So.
Any other questions?
So, I mean, just from, is y'all's economic, the Delaware economic deals, is it just projected at IT and stuff and everything right now?
No, the 5-year projection, the projections there, again, 57 million is going to be all the companies. About 1 million of those would be the new companies that we would start this year. And then out of the 5-year projections, which went up to around 128 million, of those, I think it's about 100 million of those would be IT companies, and the other 28 million would be the
DNI,
Well, under DNI right now, there will be 4.
and that's CSI,
You got
IT,
CSI,
Indigenous
created,
Technology.
indigenous, and then we're about to start DN professional services.
What?
DN professional services.
Professional services?
Yeah.
See, that was another deal that DRG had, was professional services.
Yeah, I mean, that's a catch-all for IT and management related services.
Okay.
Is your door open to tribal members if they want to come in and retrieve information?
Absolutely.
Where's your office at?
Actually, our office is in Chickasha, and then our shared services, which we have 24 employees that work with accounting, business development, proposal writing, recruiting, and so forth. We have some of them up there in Oklahoma City, and then we have some of them located in Chickasha. And then we also have Created's office, which Jason Pruder runs as well. His office is actually over in Fort Cobb. So.
But this says Industrial Road.
Well, that's technically where we still have the Green Tech Center. That's part of our.
So you should put your Chickasha address on there.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank
for
you.
some of the government contracts, we still have to go with the industrial route. So. Okay. We just do.
Last time I went into the Green Tech building, it was full of Gabriel shops. What are they doing here?
They're basically warehousing. That's the other thing, we didn't talk about that. The warehouse, we extended the lease with Gabriel through the middle of 2018. So basically we're already starting talks to extend it past 2018. The biggest hurdle is trying to get them to convince them to do a foreign trade zone because it would save them an enormous amount of money, hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of dollars if they would do a foreign trade zone over at the Green Tech Center. And we believe, with leadership and all that, that if we could get them to do that, then they would be a tenant in there as long as we want them to be a tenant in there.
My job, that's cool with all the money and stuff. What about the people for here? I mean, what are we going to do? Like, is there like tech schools? Are we going to be training any of our tribal members or anything like that? Or what are we going to do?
Certainly, and we've talked about that before, about we're looking for people that would like to go get their IT degrees, engineering degrees. These are highly skilled areas. And certainly, as a matter of fact, do we still have a tribal member working for us?
Yes.
Okay. We still, and he was working for CSI whenever we purchased the company. We actually had a Delaware Nation citizen that worked for and is in, I don't know what he is, IT. He's in IT. Certainly, that is exactly where we're going. We want to educate and give the skill sets to our people to be able to take and fulfill these jobs all over the country. So they're not just located here in Oklahoma. They can be living in California or wherever they're living now, get these skill sets, get this education, and be able to go and fulfill these positions.
So basically, once the note is paid off and that money would be coming to the tribe, it'd be up to the executive committee to decide we're going to use that money for scholarships, we're going to use that money for other trades, for some of the other businesses, that kind of thing.
Where would we go to see like the incomes of those board members? Because when you're talking about numbers of that magnitude, the $50 million, you know what I'm saying? It would be nice to.
You're talking about the
board members of
the board members make nothing. Zero. Just like me. Nothing.
Actually, the board member, there's a proposed board member, I'm not sure exactly where that's at with the executive committee, but there's a lady that is an expert in tribal business. She has a doctorate in it. She is an expert in Chickasaws, the Choctaws, how they built their system. She's going to hopefully be on our board very quickly. And I don't even think. We offered her, the normal stipend of the board, and I think she turned it down. She used it.
Her name's not Dita, is it?
No.
Okay.
It's actually.
Thank you, Lord.
Her name is actually Michelle Campbell. I guess I should probably call her Dr. Campbell. But she was, I guess, just last year she was nominated
unfair contracts. I just want to know what's your ultimate, like, what's the whole persona behind it? Because I'm worried about the economic, because then when you say economic, I think of Anadarko and our people here, but I'm not, no offense, but I don't see it back to our people here with that, unless we're creating tech schools or sending them to schooling or something for that certain type of job, the contracting that they're getting, or veterans or something like that. There's a lot of veterans out here. Native Americans are like the highest veteran type of deal, but I don't see that.
Well, it requires money, and certainly once we have that money, that's exactly what we'll be doing, is building out businesses, looking for ways to train and hire our own people, whether it's here or across the country. Their long-term goals, their goals, period, are to make us money. That's the goal.
Can I have a deal of your projected goals, or what's your long-term goals and short-term goals?
I'll tell you what, can you take the slides that you just showed us today and make them available? We'll put them in the next newsletter, and then everybody will have them. That work? All right?
That last slide showed the 5-year projection.
Well, I'm just asking for the goals and stuff. I mean,
The goal is just to make our money for our people. That's our main goal.
Right.
There's no other thing. That's the goal, is to make money. That's why they're doing what they're doing.
Social services offers awesome scholarship programs for
That's what
people
they're
that
doing.
want to go to college and get educated.
But the problem is too with hiring Delaware members, nobody has the degrees to go work there. If you would like to work there, if Delaware people want to, you have to go to school to do that. We can't just say, here, let me put you in this position, because it don't work that way. And our tribe helps us, not that much right now, because, you know, the economics, how everything's going, but they do help. But we have to go to school in order to work for them, but their main goal is to bring back money for us.
well,
And to let you know,
I mean, that's what we're saying, but you're asking the same question. You know, what's the long-term short goals? That's our one goal, is to bring back money for us.
So you
And to let you know, on those government contracts, we're not technically hiring those people. I mean, we are eventually, but whenever we have candidates, we actually send them, like we find a candidate, we find, here's the best person for the job, and I say it, it's business, here's the best person for the job for the least amount that we can pay. And then we send them actually to DISA, to the Air Force, on those programs, and they interview them, and they either say, yes, they would have the qualifications to do what we want them to do. And then they shuffle them back to us, we hire them and put them on a contract. So we're not the ultimate decision maker on actually who goes on those contracts or not. It's the government that makes that decision. And if we send them people that don't have the qualifications, eventually the next time they renew that contract, they're not gonna renew it with us. We have to send them the most qualified person that we possibly can send.
I understand. I mean, maybe I'm just reading wrong, but when you said economic development, I think of our people. And then for you, just getting out money is not economic development. I mean, we have to.
Once we get that money, we can put
It's not
it
just
to
about money.
that.
I mean, it's just not about the money. No offense. I mean, like.
Right, but there's 6 building blocks to economic development.
In order to do the development, we need money.
If you look at it tribally, of how all tribes, like Chickasaws, Choctaws, how all of them handle it, there are 6 building blocks. We handle the top 3. That's what the DNEDA does, which is creating businesses, retaining businesses, and eventually recruiting businesses. Once we get to that point of being bigger, we'll be able to recruit businesses in. It's really the tribe that takes care of the training, the other building blocks that feed into that, and it's just a recurring circle. We provide money back to the tribe to do those trainings and so forth, and then they can eventually provide employees and so forth to work back in those other blocks, and it's just a.
So you're going to help like the small businesses and everything, stuff like that? Or?
I'm sorry?
Like, are you going to help out with small businesses and everything, stuff like that too?
You want to direct that question to me? Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly, and that's what I was saying at the beginning. We're going to have this money. We're going to have, if we had our debt paid off, we would have $7 million more flowing into our coffers that we've got to do something with. And yes, economic development is at the top of the list. We want to, whatever, I don't care. I've said before, I don't care if it's a lemonade stand. I want to see some economic development in this community. And that's what our goal is. But we can't do that without the money. That's one of the building blocks. All righty. Everybody wait. Certainly, and I think we should. Certainly to make, not only for the information, but we also need to be having discussions as you've brought up. You've asked a lot of questions today, and a lot of those questions we need to be taking up on a regular basis, looking at ideas, thoughts, and doing that.
Well, how do we get it to quarterly? What do we have to do?
I will call one quarterly if you want one.
Huh?
I'll call one quarterly from now on if you want to like.
Really?
Sure.
The Constitution just requires the one annual, but it doesn't limit you.
And actually, we do have more than that. All right, we had a motion to adjourn.
I got a
Second.
motion to adjourn.
Motion made, seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, abstention, motion passes. We're adjourned. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers. Be safe going home. Yeah, and let me explain something. We started out as economic development, and actually where we've ended up is business development. It is not true economic development, and that's one of the things we've identified and said we've got to get back to creating the economic development. We're probably going to set up a team. You should be on that team to help us create this new economic development task force that's going to create some of the jobs and opportunities here in this community.
Correct. I understand. That was my argument for